Thanks so much, Megan, for the opportunity to be here and share this keynote with all of you Voice Talks watchers and listeners around the world. For those that don't know me, I'm James Poulter. I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders here at Vixen Labs. And it's my pleasure that this afternoon, this morning, this evening, wherever you're watching, I'm going to be sharing with you some of our key insights from the most recent piece of research that we've launched in partnership with the Open Voice Network, which is the Voice Consumer Index 2021. So we undertook some research in the UK, the US, and Germany for the first time with 2,000 respondents in each country, making this one of the biggest voice surveys that's been conducted to date. And we want to do that particularly to also look at the behaviours that people have and attitudes that people have towards voice. And so we worked with our partners at the Open Voice Network, headed there by the folks like John Stein, and led a lot of our research by Scott and Susan Westwater from Pragmatic Digital, who lead the community and around conversational strategy there. And we did this in partnership with our research partners, Delineate, who we've worked on a number of pieces of work with before. And the first thing I want to highlight in this is that voice is becoming a primary way that consumers will connect with the digital world and a primary way that marketeers can connect with consumers. And you can find a quote from John at the start of our research to that effect, that voice really is now becoming out of just the innovation channel, out of being that emerging platform into something much more established and becoming business as usual. Let's get into the data. The first thing that we found is that voice is now part of daily life for many. This isn't just some people using it some of the time. This is people using it multiple times a day. In all three of the countries that we studied, the US, the UK, and Germany, we found that over 50% of people are using voice at least once a month. But when you look at the daily usage, this is what gets really interesting. In all three markets, over 30% of people are using voice on a multiple times a day or at least once a day basis. And many, many more are using it once a week. In fact, actually, it's almost 50% of all of these markets are using voice at least once a week, which means that this is a really habitual use of voice, a much more evolved and advanced consumer than we necessarily expected. And they're using it across a range of different devices. What we looked at in the US, the UK, and Germany was what users see the value of voice in before they start doing more things. How do they start understanding what their voice device can do? And what we found is a much more advanced consumer than we were really expecting to find. The top box across all three countries is that when people are asked, how do you find out what you can do with your voice? It's trial and error, or I had a go. And this indicates a much more leaned in consumer, one that's willing to really experiment and try things. And I think it opens up many more possibilities on how we might engage with them. What's maybe more concerning for brands and marketeers is that there seems to be a lack of investment that we've known of for some time in marketing experiences before they actually get deployed. And we see this evidenced in what we saw as the lowest ranking of how people found out what they could do with their devices. When you think about a traditional marketing strategy of earned, paid, and owned media, the owned might be your voice application or your search results. But what about the earned and the paid? We found that when it came to things like reading consumer or tech news, blogs or reviews, or trying to find out what they could do with their assistant through those types of medium, typically what we might think of as earned media, that was the lowest of all the boxes. And only just above that was examples that have been shown in advertising such as TV, radio, and social media. We need to make finding a voice utterance or an invocation as commonplace as reading a website result or seeing a social icon at the bottom of a newsletter in your IVR script, or when you're speaking to a customer service agent in store. So our big headline takeaway from our first piece of the research was that 57% of people in the US, the UK, and Germany, they are voice assistant users, and that shows a very advanced consumer base that we think we can work with. On to our second section, which is looking at the ways in which people are actually using their voices today. What we see when we ask people where are they using their voice assistant around the home. And what was really striking from this question was just how important the phone is as an interface for voice interaction. And that we saw that in the most used use case for using their voice was at home on their phone in the US. And that gives us a very strong indication that we need to be thinking about the phone as a primary interface for voice and building multimodal experiences that work not only on smart speakers, but also on mobile devices, because the mobile device is also the gateway to other usage patterns as well. If we think about CarPlay and Android Auto, the phone is the thing that powers these experiences. But what I want to bring you to is now probably our most important finding for marketeers, brands, and businesses working with them. We know that for many years, this idea of the marketing funnel has been a pretty common parlance in all channels from the ages early, web and mobile and digital. But what we've wondered for some time is whether or not the marketing funnel, this idea of moving from awareness to engagement and consideration of a brand, moving forward to some kind of action, purchase, and loyalty, during which we see a big drop off, hence the funnel, is that something that actually rings true in the world of voice? And what we've seen is that it's alive and well, and actually much more so than we were expecting. So we asked people to rank the different types of things that they did with their voices. And we wanted to look at certain types of actions that really align to that marketing funnel, such as asking a question to a search engine, searching for information on products and services, for local business information, or finding about a brand, and ultimately making purchases. And what you can see from the results that we got is that this is an activity that is alive and well at all of these stages, that people are asking with their voices, smart assistants, general search questions. Those questions they may know or they may not know that they're asking a voice assistant, a search engine, whether or not these questions really exist, but whether they know it or not, they are asking them. And then gradually they go through the motions of asking more and more specific questions that mean that they might be asking for a specific type of product, ultimately then trying to find that product maybe locally or a business locally, for example, a retail outlet or a restaurant or a doctor's office or something like that. And then through to very specific information about actual brands. And if there's a route to, about 40% of them in all markets are willing to make purchases through their devices if they can do so, be that digital purchases, subscriptions, or potentially buying physical goods. And because this marketing funnel exists, it goes to show us how much more advanced this channel is becoming, and that we now believe that voice is a marketing channel that should be considered alongside things like mobile and the web. Now, if you want to find out more information about what else people are doing, I really encourage you to go read the white paper authored by Scott and Susan Westwater, and you can find that at the website just at www.vixenlabs.co/VCI. So what I want to end with is this big point that 91% of voice consumers, they're already searching via voice. This is now a commonplace, regular activity with the majority of publics in each of these different markets. And if you create an experience that they really value, they will go on to actually engage with voice. So that's the message we want to leave with you. But for now, thanks so much to Voice Talks for the opportunity to contribute this keynote as part of this session. And I hope that you're all staying really well, and we'll see you in person again very soon.